Didn't like that. I think this is the point where I start to rethink my life choices. Ta-da! Wait. Ta-da! So I'm back on this, the Subaru Shorty. It's starting to grow on me. It's growing on me kind of like a fungus. I wasn't really a big fan of the car. The car is just junk, but cut the top off and all of a sudden you start getting a little character, a little personality. Well, now that we've shortened it 45 inches, basically cut, well, the passenger area out of the car, it's really starting to wiggle its way into my heart. So where we left off last time was I had got everything shorted. I haven't done anything else to it from the last video other than I took the rest of the rear seat out of the car. I need to assess what I need to do to get me a little more room so that I can actually get my butt in the car, because I do want to drive it. I can't start it yet because I don't have the fuel lines hooked to anything. I'm working on trying to find some sort of a fuel cell, a fuel tank, because where the fuel tank goes in the car is now where the shifter is, okay? There's some really sharper areas, like right here. I've been snagged on this so many times. Keep hitting myself on this up here. We've got about 14 inches of space to get in and out of this thing, and it's got all these things that are like knives or weapons or something that just try to make you bleed if you try to wedge in there. So what I want to work on today, I want to slice off this edge here. So our door comes up to right here. We're going to take this section off. I'm going to do that on both sides. I'm going to go ahead and dock these corners off a little bit. There's no real reason to have such a sharp corner. Then I'm going to come in here, take all the covers and stuff off of this rear tray support and see how far I can get the rear seat back in there. If I can get that, then I'm pretty sure I can get in there to drive it. However, I don't know how high I'm going to sit in the car, because I don't have a room for any kind of a seat bottom. I'll have to look in there and see if maybe I can cut a section of the floor out on either side to lower it. Then maybe take a section of the seat, the seat bottom for the back seat, the cushion part, and maybe set it down in there to where we got something soft and cushy for our tushy. So I'm going to quit gabbing, and I'm going to get some saws and we're going to start slicing and dicing. Now, this is something that I did a long time ago before I had, I don't know, morals and standards. So it's not something that I do all the time, but it is something that I have done before, not necessarily making some shorter, but taking two, welding one together, etc., etc. So this is probably the most extreme mod I've ever done on anything that is this late model, okay? I'm no stranger to cutting frames for airbag in auction, zine, blah, 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 blah. So let me find my saws, let me pull some cords out, and let's see if we can't make this thing where we can actually get in and out of it. Hopefully get everything laid out and set in there where we can start it and possibly even drive it. Hang in there. Hot stuff. That should help. Overheated that battery. So we're going to switch to Mr. Don't Give a Darn. Alright, now we got a little more room in here, between here. Now, need a little more room between here and here. So next up, pull the seat belts, pull the tray off, pull the shrouding off, and make some nice little cuts in there. See if we can't get a seat mounted in here. Normally I just hop in there with it, but there's just, well, not enough room to really get in it. Well, that was relatively easy. I'm well aware that there's supports for the rear suspension, blah blah blah, better handling. I know. But that is actually where the rear strut shock spring mount is way down there. So the cool thing is I can come in here and just slice her all the way back to here. I think the only limiting factor is my trunk hinge comes back to right here. Here's one of the bolts. So I may just do me a straight line right across through here and see if that gives us enough room, and we'll go from there. A little line here, kind of give me a reference, and that way whenever I get to cutting through here, maybe I can get it straight where it accidentally might look like something. And I might even, maybe I can leave a spot for the, I don't know. I don't really want the seat belt to be kind of in your armpit, so I'm pretty sure we're just going to have to move those anyway, so we're not going to worry about that. But getting this line through here, if my death wheel is cooled down, the batteries really don't like running a 7 1/4 inch blade on that thing, but it just, you know, if it didn't cut so good, people wouldn't put them on there. So that's all I got to say about that. Didn't like that. Alrighty then. I'm gonna get the big guy and see if he'll go in there and make a reasonable cut on this inside support. Oh yeah. We are getting there. Oh yeah. here's where we stand. It actually cut out way easier than I thought. And then now that I can see in there, so we've got brace inside of a brace. This is a little flimsy piece. So to give myself a little more elbow room, I believe we're going to go ahead and finish this cut all the way out to here, this outer panel. Then we're going to follow it around, and we're going to come down through here and cut this right across that wheel opening. That way I've got a place to put my elbow. I'll do the same thing on the other side too. So let's do a little more slicing, a little more dicing. Plugging in your saw helps. It's amazing how they got the panels just stacked one on top of another. I know it's for strength, which I'm taking out, but hello, no roof here. I think this is the point where I start to rethink my life choices. It's amazing the web of metal that's just right here in this corner. The only other thing I know to do is just brute strength and ignorance. Well, I can get a little more further in. Alright, well, at least we're getting somewhere. Oh yeah. All that elbow room. Yeah, I am going to go in here and all these little sharp tidbits, either bend them over, or go ahead and grind the spot welds. We're going to trim everything up because the last thing I want is to bleed in this thing every time I get in and out of it. So I'm going to switch over to the other side, give it a hacking or so, and then we'll come back and we'll just kind of clean some of this stuff up. I got the other side. It's all chopped out. You can see where it used to was. I've got some just little pieces of metal that are spot welded in. I'm going to go in there and actually take a belt sander, the finger sander, and sand those spot welds out, take a grinder, dress that stuff up. I don't want to rip any more pants on this thing. Another thing I noticed is now that all that inside stuff is cut out, our cut across the back is right here. So I think I'm going to go ahead, lay this down, and cut that over, and that'll give us even more elbow room. So, had a good plan, turned into a better plan. If you consider the whole thing a good plan, I guess, to start with. I'm not really sure. At this point, it's a little too late. So, we got to make it work. I'm going to come in here, cut this off flat, do that to both sides. Just give her a little more trimming. Ah, my blade is shot. I think we finally got a piece that had a few teeth left anyways. So what do y'all think? After the avalanche there. Oh yeah. We're getting her opened up. We're getting that profile going. Let's cut that other side. It actually ended up cutting a little cleaner. So if you're cutting the top off your Subaru Legacy, yeah, a big cutoff wheel. Oh yeah. Okay, got the seat back in there. Let's see if I can get my hind end in there and see if that's going to be suitable. It already looks like the bottom is going to be a little bit too tall. So I'm going to try to wedge in there. If I'm like trying to look through the windshield frame, I'm going to have to see if I can't cut the section of the front of the trunk out and lower it down. Just where I don't want to like catch bugs in my forehead or anything like that. Oh. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, right there is good, but I am sticking up above the windshield. This side, perfect. So I'm sitting pretty much over the rear end. So let's put this thing in the air and see if we have any space where we might be able to take this section, maybe cut it out and flip it over and weld it back in, just to lower it down a little bit where we can get a seat cushion in here for the bottom. Before I pick this thing up, I just remembered I've just got probably about 4 inches of weld on either rocker panel, just on the top and the sides. The wheelbase is so close together, I'm going to try to figure out how I can get the lift arms underneath there. And I'm going to try to pick up the back as far under as I can and maybe swing this arm around and pick it up at the front of the frame. I don't know, it's kind of like picking up my wife's Polaris. I don't know, it's kind of like picking up my go-kart. So, I don't know. Let's see if we can figure it out. All right, it's either going to be really, really good or really, really bad. This is the first time having the world's shortest Subaru on a 2-post lift. It's all the way up on the lift. We got us some light. Let's try this again. All right, well, where the floorboard comes together, this is where the weld is. So it didn't open up. Actually, it's really tight together. That worked out really good. And this is the other side. See, the rocker's just a little bit wider. We'll just take and fill that in a little bit with something. I may put, this was a tie down point on the original chassis. It might be a good idea to have that back in there if we ever have to haul this thing on a trailer. Weld all this in, maybe put a piece of flat strap across the bottom here, just a little extra reinforcement. The other thing is this was the main support on the floorboard, and I thought that what we could do is maybe put some metal or something in there to where we can take and tie back to here, but right up here is where we need to put our butt. So we've got a cross brace across here. This is the main brace for the struts. It's not going to be a G-force cornering machine anymore, I'm afraid. But if we come in through here and cut right there and cut right there, we can go back pretty good ways in the trunk, because this is usually where the fuel tank is. And actually, I may not have to cut that out. I might be able to just go flush. See, in here, there's a pretty big step up. So if I can bring that back and just flip this upper part, that may may lower it enough to where I can actually set my hind end in there. But then on the other side, another way to look at it is I could put some tubing and just weld it right straight across here from one side to the other, cut that out, go ahead and bring her down where I can sit down and actually look through the middle of the steering wheel. So I think that's pretty darn exciting. And where the pans overlap, we kind of got a shadow going here. Sorry about that. And this is pretty funny. So the exhaust is right where the drive shaft needs to be. The drive shaft length, if you can all see in there, I'm not sure. All right, let's look at this again. All right, this is the opening, this is the rear, and this is the front here. This is the cross brace, so it'd be really easy just to make a filler panel in there. It's going to be really easy to tie this here back into over here. So that'll get our cross brace back across here. Our ABS wires come through, they didn't get snagged. Our brake lines are pretty tight in there. But interestingly enough, we've got a brake line that's just about rusted through where the clips are, actually in 2 spots. So we're going to end up cutting those back. I'll probably bring those lines somewhere through here and just hook one up, and then the other one's going to have to come out so that we can lower the seating area. So it looks like I got plenty of room, man. We can be chilling and just have all kinds of room in this thing. So now that I've seen the underside of it, I think I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of welding in here just for the heck of it. And we're going to let her down, and might go ahead and unsnap these brake lines and just kind of lay them out of the way. And we may go ahead and do a little more Tom Hackery on this here. I'm going to look at it from the top side. If I can cut it off flat with the top of that cross brace, I don't mind leaving it in there. So I don't know. We'll just have to think on it for a minute and just make a decision from there. While you guys were napping, I got in here and decided to do a little carving. The seat, I thought, you know what, it doesn't matter. We're hacking this thing apart anyways. So I went ahead and cut into the main rail just a little bit, make it just wide enough to where maybe I can sit in here and actually look through the windshield. So I got all that cut out. I've got a piece of scrap metal right here laid in. Now hold on. I've already started fabricating a seat for it. Let's see if I can get it in here. Oh, look at that. So now that we've got a platform to sit on, it's time to see if we can get the brakes hooked back up and get some sort of a fuel jug where we can get this thing fired up. And I've got stuff coming this week I got to have this lift for, so I want to go ahead and see if I can't get this little sucker mobile and maybe get out in the sunlight and see what it really looks like from a distance. Just see how much ridiculousness we actually have here going on. The other thing I did too is all the little sharp pieces and everything else where we cut all the inner panels out. Went ahead and knocked all those off with an air chisel. So we got maybe we won't bleed if we try to get in and out of here. There's, you know, some structure integrity has been compromised, but we still have enough left there, I believe, for the weight of this here manually size rig. I did figure out the wheelbase on this thing is, well, 60 inches. That's only 5 feet. So let me get this thing cleaned out. We're going to see if we can get some fuel lines running here and get the brake lines hooked back up, and maybe light a fire in this thing and see if we can't get it out of here and take it for a little rip. I got excited, y'all. Figured we'd be riding this thing today, but I forgot one little thing. I was thinking about the brakes and everything else. I forgot we needed to fit a drive shaft in here. So I've cut the center out. I don't know if I'm going to be able to focus on it or not. and it's too steep of an angle and the joints bind up. And so now what I'm trying to do is to help out with that is I'm going to raise the snout of the diff up, and I've measured it. I can actually re-drill these mounts right here and move the front diff mount up, taking all the space up here from the cross member. So I'm going to get these drilled out, get this bracket put back in here. I think it'd be kind of scary to go any more than that. So I'm going to drill these holes and I'll pick you guys back up. I've got the drive shaft, I've got the pieces cut out. But since I'm adjusting everything, I have to make sure that all of that's going to work. I mean, being that I'm moving it closer together, I don't want to cut the thing, weld it together, and turn around and have to cut it back apart again, just take like a ½ inch out. So we're going to get everything moved around real quick. So I'm going to quit yammering, get in here and get to drilling, and see if we can get this drive shaft in here. All the rear brakes are hooked back up. That's these guys here. I've got the fuel lines temporarily running to the trunk. We've got a little tiny stubby drive shaft in there. And I have got a makeshift tank. Now, don't judge me, okay? So the tinfoil, that's for safety, okay? I've got just some wires stopped down into the plug. Took me a minute to figure out which was the return, which was the feed. I think we got it figured out. I went ahead and hooked the battery up. The car started acting really weird. Then it dawned on me. I went ahead and checked it out. It only has 8 volts in it. So, because I've only got just a little under, well, 7.5 volts. Go ahead and turn our jump box on. And come on, guy. Sometimes this thing is frustrating. It wants to just pulse in and out. You got to hit it just right. So let's see what happens. Fuel pump sounds healthy. Key it a couple times. Sounds like it doesn't have any air. Let's hear her go. All right, it runs. So everything is flashing now. All those lights are so pretty. Okay, it runs. I'm assuming it'll drive. Next step is gonna be, go ahead and set my board in there, put my seat back in there, and try to dig this bay out. I need to get all this stuff out of the way. I want to get this thing out in the sunshine and just take her for a quick hot lap around the neighborhood. Gotta love this weather. Nut and bolt check done. Strapped up the e-brake cables. Let's put her on the ground and see what it'll do. And there we have it. Man, check out that thing. Looks like a toy. It's doing good, moving under its own power. Seems to be stable. And I think she'll rip around pretty good. Shall we take it for a ride? Sure, why not? So what's next? Want to do some doors, some interior pieces, make this a little more refined. The car's had the front end knocked off of it. Now I'm inclined to see if I can't find some parts and pieces to piece this thing back together. Take some of the interior parts and cut them down to fit them in there. I've got 4 feet of extra wiring harness on the car. I need to try to figure out somewhere to stuff it and do a little bit of wiring, see if we can't make some sort of permanent seat. And I think it wasn't supposed to be this way. I'm going to admit. I want to do a little more reinforcement where the two pieces come together. I'd like to get some tires that don't have cords sticking through. So find some used tires for it, get some interior pieces in it, just refine it a little more.
Yes.
I missed it all. Awesome.